Have you ever wondered what it feels like to return home after years of war, carrying nothing but the weight of memories, only to find silence waiting at your doorstep? This is the story of a soldier whose heart longed for the warmth of family, whose mind replayed every laughter he left behind, but whose fate had prepared something far different, a story forgotten by history, but never by those who've heard it. His name was Elias. He was not a man born for war, not a man who dreamed of medals or victories. He was a farmer's son, with hands meant for sowing wheat and arms meant for lifting children high in the air. But when the war drums thundered across the land, when the king called upon every able hand to defend their soil, Elias left behind his small home by the river, his wife Leora, and their little boy Arian. He promised them he would return. Not just in letters, not just in whispers of prayer, but in flesh, alive. And for years he fought. He bled on battlefields that reeked of smoke and iron, slept on mud that clung to his body like chains, and watched comrades fall beside him. Each night, when silence finally broke through the cries of war, he closed his eyes and saw only his home, the flicker of the hearth, Leora's gentle hands mending cloth, Arian's laughter echoing like a bell across the wooden floor. That image was his shield, that memory, his weapon. Years passed. The war ended. Kingdoms rose and fell, but Elias lived, scarred, weary, but alive. He limped back through valleys, crossed rivers, and walked roads he once knew by heart. Every step forward was a beat of hope. The thought burned inside him. They are waiting for me. When Elias finally reached the lane that led to his cottage, his heart raced. He could almost hear Aaron's footsteps running to greet him, could almost smell the bread Leora would have baking in the oven, could almost feel the warmth of arms that had missed him. But as he turned the corner, the world stopped. The cottage was there, but it was empty. The wooden shutters hung loose, creaking in the wind. The garden, once alive with herbs and flowers, was strangled with weeds. The door swung open with no one to welcome him. Dust lay thick across the floor where once laughter had lived. Leora? His voice broke the silence. Erin? No answer. Only the echo of his own voice. Elias searched the house as though the walls might reveal a secret. He found nothing but emptiness, an abandoned chair, a child's toy broken in the corner, and a silence that screamed louder than any cannon fire he had ever heard. The neighbors were gone too. War had not just claimed lives on the battlefield. It had hollowed out the village, scattering families like dry leaves in the wind. Someone must have taken them, or they must have left when food ran out, when soldiers raided, when survival meant fleeing. Elias staggered to his knees, clutching the broken toy. His heart beat wildly, not with the joy of return, but with a fear greater than death itself. For death was final, but absence was a wound that never closed. He spent days searching, walking through neighboring towns, asking anyone who would listen. Some shook their heads. Some looked away. Others whispered stories that his wife and son had left with a caravan, that they had gone east, that maybe they had not survived at all. No one could say for sure. Every night, Elias returned to the empty cottage. He sat by the dead hearth, staring into the darkness, waiting for footsteps that never came. His mind played tricks on him. Sometimes he swore he heard Aaron's laugh outside the window. Sometimes he felt Leora's hand brush against his cheek. But when he opened his eyes, there was only the cold wind, the whisper of trees, and the creak of loneliness. And yet he did not leave. Something inside him refused to abandon the place where his love once lived. He rebuilt the garden, not with roses or herbs, but with wild flowers, as if hoping their colors would call his family back. He mended the roof, lit the hearth, kept the house alive. Every day he left the door slightly open, as though inviting them to return. Seasons passed. The boy he remembered as 5 years old would now be a young man. Leora's hair, once dark, would now hold silver. Elias aged too, his scars deepening, his back bending, but his hope never died. Travelers who passed through the village sometimes saw him standing at the gate, staring down the road, eyes fixed on a horizon that never gave him what he longed for. They whispered about him, the soldier who returned to an empty home, the man who lived more with ghosts than with the living. Some pitied him, some feared him, but no one forgot him. Years later, when Elias was too weak to stand at the gate, he lay on his bed, the same bed where once he and Leora had dreamed of growing old together. His eyes closed one final time, and in that stillness, He finally saw them. Leora smiling, Irene running toward him. Whether it was memory or heaven, no one could say. But for Elias, it was enough. The house, abandoned once more, after his passing, became part of the forest. The weeds returned. The wood rotted. The laughter was gone. But the story remained. A story of a man who carried love through fire and war, who returned to silence but never surrendered to despair. A soldier whose home may have been empty, but whose heart remained forever full. And maybe, just maybe, if you walk through the ruins of forgotten villages, you might hear the faint echo of his voice, calling a name into the wind, waiting still for an answer that never came. Because not all battles end on the field. Some end at the doorstep, with no one there to open the door.